Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle. We talk all things life, love, spirituality, law of attraction, and all of that juicy goodness. I am an intuitive reader, a manifesting coach, a Reiki practitioner, and a life path guide and mentor here to help you along your awakening journey so that you can co-create the life of your dreams. And in this video, we are going to talk about how our sneaky little egos can come in and sabotage our journey. They can keep us from receiving miracles. So first, we have to become aware of what is the ego? Why is it here? So the ego is the part of your mind, it is your mind, that was designed in childhood to protect you. So any pain that you've experienced in your childhood, the ego kind of holds the pain for you. So it's a gift. We can thank the ego and say, thank you for holding that pain for us. But the downside to that is the ego can only replay those scenarios. And the ego loves to be alive and working and having a mission and having a job. And that job is to protect you from the unknown and to protect you from any future threats. And unfortunately, when we experience miracles, we have to be in the unknown. And the ego doesn't like that. So your mind will come in and tell you that something bad is going to happen when something good is about to happen. And you have to become the observer of those thoughts of the ego and when it ramps up to try to scare you. And the more you spiritually awaken, the stronger you get, the more you're living in your intuition and your soul every single day, the more the ego gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then they don't have a job anymore. Well, guess what? The ego is not happy about that. The ego wants to come back, strike back. It wants to attack you. So pay attention to this. Think back. Any miracles that you've experienced in the past or any great moments, did your ego come out a few hours later, the next day? Was your ego poking you and telling you you're not a good person and that this is too good to be true and you're going to lose it and this person doesn't really love you or this job isn't really meant for you or you're not going to be happy there? Your ego loves to attack you right when you receive a miracle, because when you've received the miracle, you were in soul, you were in light, you were feeling good. Self-sabotage is 100% your ego's attempt to protect you from a threat that doesn't really exist. Okay, so if I can get you to become super, super aware of how your ego likes to tell you stories after you receive a desire or before you receive that desire, you're going to be a magical manifester. It's going to happen so effortlessly. You're going to be so strong. And remember, as you get stronger spiritually, the ego gets more upset. The ego doesn't like to not be needed. And when you're spiritually strong, you're living in your truth, you're living in soul. And the ego's been kind of dormant. So when it comes out of that phase, right after you receive something good, or you're just having a few good days, just expect the mind to creep in and start to tell you that this isn't going to last, or you did something bad and you're not worthy of receiving this. It's always going to tell you that you're not worthy of receiving it. So how do we handle this monster? How do we stop it from sabotaging our future and our future manifestations? What we have to do is we have to become mindful in the moment to see the thought and say, no, I choose differently. I'm not going to think these thoughts. Thank you, ego. I appreciate you trying to save me, but I am worthy. And the past is in the past. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm no longer a match to it. And when you purify your vessel and you heal and you go on this journey of just, I want to be a great person. I want to do good in the world. I want to share my gifts. You become a really amazing person because you're living in your truth. You're living in alignment. And the ego will then sabotage that in some way by telling you that when you start to attract soul tribe, that you can't trust this person. Don't trust this job. Don't trust this opportunity. So here's an example about how my ego tried to hijack me. Back in 2020, I got an offer to make a mindfulness program. I talk about it all the time on my channel. This was like my first big manifestation. And it made me over $150,000. I got to reach kids all over the US and Canada, which was my ultimate goal. And I wanted to leave my teaching job, which I did. So I get this DM in July, and it's a friend from college. We played field hockey together. We were on the national championship team together. And here we are reconnecting after years. And she's like, hey, Michelle, I see you teaching meditation in your classroom. Looks like you're crushing it. Kids must love you, blah, blah, blah. We would love for you to make 30 videos of you teaching kids all over the US how to meditate and how to be mindful and how to have self-love and self-respect and set boundaries and everything that we weren't taught. I was then being asked to create videos teaching. So I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest manifestation ever. Yes, I don't know how to film. I don't know how to edit, but I'll figure it out. I'll hire somebody to do it. So I said yes. Well, a month and a half later, I had to get my wisdom teeth out. That was the first self-sabotage. I wasn't feeling worthy of this opportunity. So somehow my body generated a reason to stop me. So that held off. And maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was just I needed more time to conjure up some ideas. But after that, the whole time I had anxiety and fear. And my fear was telling me, this is how my brain works. And I'm kind of vulnerable saying this, but I was thinking that this company was going to use me and that I should be delivering these messages myself. And I shouldn't work for a company that's just going to exploit me. And they're just going to use my special gifts and they're going to try to make money off of me because I wasn't going to make a total percentage of my profit. So I had this fear that this company was using me and they were going to make money off of me. And I told myself this story over and over and over again, and it kept me from filming. And then early in September, I talked to a friend and she was like, Michelle, just do this. Turn off that voice and just do it. And back then, I didn't know as much about the ego. I didn't know about fear. I didn't know how it can creep in like that. I really believed that that company was going to use me and they weren't going to honor me, or I've never worked with a company before. I've always been a teacher, but it was like the greatest manifestation ever. And I wasn't trusting it. My mind was telling me that I'm going to get hurt somehow. Okay, so pay attention to the thoughts that pop in when you get an offer, when you get asked out on a date. Don't question it. Okay, use your discernment. My body was not feeling unsafe about this offer. It was my mind telling me that it was going to be unsafe. Okay, when I would go to bed at night, I knew I should be filming and I wasn't. So there's a difference there. So start to tune into your body and get to know the difference between when your mind is telling you to be afraid and when your body is actually afraid. So learning about the ego, learning about your specific ego and the buttons it likes to push within you, literally buttons on my shirt today, unplanned. But the ego will try to push these buttons. And this button might be, that bad thing you did when you were a teenager. This button might be, that horrible way you lashed out at your kids recently. Your ego will remind you of those moments when you're in a moment of bliss, when you're receiving manifestations, when you're in a flow state, when you're creating something. I remember creating those videos for that mindfulness program, and I would close the computer and I would drive home for the night. I was filming at a cute plant and crystal shop, and I would drive home and my ego would start. That was everything you just filmed is worthless. It's stupid. You need to do it over again. Kids aren't going to understand it. And I wish I could go back in time and tell myself to not listen to that voice because it did stop me. It made the process slower. I still did it, but I think the videos would have been better if I had not listened to that voice. Start to pay attention to what buttons that you have on you that your ego likes to push. As soon as you start to think about something from your past and you're feeling bad about it, you're in your ego. And you have to drop back into soul. And the way we do that is we drop out of the head and into the body and into the heart. Okay. And this will change your manifesting game. It'll change your life because you're going to be able to receive so much easier because you're not going to fear, losing it or somebody hurting you or this isn't safe. You're going to be able to say, ego, I know you're unsafe right now. You're not used to this. This is something new. You don't like the unknown, but I do. And you just turn it off. And you say, I trust my body and I trust what my heart is telling me. So trust your heart, learn to live from your heart and observe the ego. Thank it for being there. It's there to protect you, but you do not need to listen to that because it will try to sabotage you every step of the way. All right, lovies, I am sending you so much love. If you need help identifying your ego and your buttons, you can book a session with me. Everything's in the description box below. I'd love to work with you one-on-one. All right, I will see you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Thank you for supporting me and my channel. All right, peace out.